Ever heard the old saw about money not being everything? Yeah, me too. But let's be brutally honest. Nothing quantifies like cash. You can argue health is more valuable, maybe it is. But try putting a precise dollar figure on your wellness. Money, however, you can track to the penny. So why, if it's so measurable, are so many people perpetually broke? The answer's blunt. They're trapped, caged by their own limiting beliefs. What if I told you two immutable laws, understood and applied, could shatter those bars and unlock real prosperity? The kind that transforms lives, families, legacies, vision boards, daily affirmations, even writing yourself a check for your dream amount a la Jim Carrey. It's all useless unless you know your starting point. Most people want out, but haven't a clue where they are right now. That's the colossal mistake. You can't navigate without knowing your location. It's like using a GPS with location services off. The destination exists, but the route's invisible because you refuse to acknowledge your current coordinates. I've seen this play out countless times, even within my own family. I vividly recall visiting my uncle, working endless overtime just to stay afloat. No car. Toronto Transit was their lifeline. Same cycle, year after year. That Christmas, they were frantically racking up credit card debt to buy their kids gifts, clinging to the delusion that next year will be different. I knew it wouldn't. I told him, "You want the truth? Your words are empty. Next year will be exactly like this one because you remain the same person." Harsh, absolutely, but it was the wake-up call he needed. Does that uncomfortable truth resonate with you? How many times have you promised, "This time it'll be different," only to find yourself back where you started? Why? Because you were making promises to a version of yourself you barely understood. You were blind to the invisible patterns dictating your actions, feelings, and the life you attract. This is the root of the cycle: emotional blindness. They say they want to change, but they don't, because they haven't acknowledged their stagnation. Ask yourself, am I the same person I was 3 years ago, or worse? Are my results the same? If yes, you're stuck, but you don't have to stay that way. There's an underlying framework, your paradigm. It's the mental programming driving your habits and behaviors. You don't overspend because you want to. Your paradigm's wired you to. You don't procrastinate out of laziness. Your paradigm avoids discomfort. And the cruelest part? You're usually oblivious to this control. The paradigm is invisible, but its effects, debt, anxiety, strained relationships, chronic frustration, are painfully clear. The good news? You can change it, but not until you honestly confront your present reality. My uncle, after that raw conversation, attended one of my seminars. I insisted on payment, a financial investment to force them to commit. Free. They'd have dropped out within weeks. Paying ensured their perseverance. They resisted, they learned, they understood. Initially, my aunt couldn't even write a wish list. She froze. "I don't know what I want," she said. That's how most people live. They don't know what they want because they don't allow themselves to want. They're stuck in survival mode, not creation mode. But there, over time, she began to write. And once she started and she couldn't stop, words and dreams, repressed for decades, poured forth. A new woman was born, a new consciousness. By the time they passed, they'd built a thriving business, owned 2 homes, one in Canada, one in Florida, and left a legacy that endures. They achieved this because they first faced their reality with brutal honesty. Are you willing to do the same? Can you truly see your current situation? No excuses, no drama, no posturing. Because if you don't admit where you are, you'll stay there. And a year from now, you'll be saying, "This time it's different." But it won't be. Not until you confront your truth. Your truth is the key to your next level. It might hurt, but it also liberates. Only by understanding the prison can you break free. Only by knowing your current position can you chart a course to where you want to go. So I ask, do you really know where you are, or are you running from the truth? Because the map to your freedom starts with raw, honest self-assessment. The next step depends on how deeply you're willing to see. Knowing your current position is step 1, but without a clear destination, you'll just spin your wheels. That's the fate of most. Wake up, autopilot through the day, struggle to survive, and go to sleep hoping tomorrow will be different, without ever defining what different means. And they don't define it because they haven't learned. They weren't taught to create a vivid image of their desired future. They were taught to comply. That's why I say with such conviction, you need to know exactly what you want, clearly, specifically, with purpose. Wishing for more money is vague. The universe doesn't respond to vagueness. It responds to precise, potent vibration. When you define your desires clearly, you activate an invisible but powerful process. You shift your vibration. You attract resources, people, ideas, but it all starts with the decision, not before. I gave my aunt a simple task during a seminar: write down everything she wanted, just that. But she hesitated. She didn't know what to write. She looked at me, confused. "Bob, I can't think of anything I want." Imagine a grown woman, a whole life ahead, unable to list a single desire. Why? Because she'd spent years, perhaps decades, living for others, children, husband, obligations. She'd forgotten herself, forgotten how to dream. It happens more often than you think. Good, honest, hard-working people, taught not to ask for much, not to expect much, not to want too much. Maybe it's happened to you too. Maybe you're unknowingly sabotaging yourself because you lack the courage to declare what you want. But that day, she picked up the pen and she started writing. One word, then two, three. And she didn't stop. It was like opening a dam. She rediscovered her dreaming self, her wanting self, her desiring self. That simple act of clear writing initiated a silent but irreversible transformation. And what happened next? She and my uncle built a completely different life. They moved from survival to creation. They built a business, prospered, helped their children, traveled, lived with dignity and purpose. It wasn't magic, it was intention, it was clarity. So tell me, what do you want? Don't say, more money. How much? For what? By when? Want to start a business? Have more free time? Buy a house? Give your children a better life? Say it. Write it. Specify it. Because every time you touch that desire with clarity, something inside you shifts. It's like flipping a switch. A system starts working in your favor. But without clarity, nothing happens. I carry a card in my pocket. It contains my goal. I've done this for decades. Every time I touch that card, a part of my brain activates. The image of what I want appears instantly in my mind's eye. It's like pushing a button. And the most interesting thing, this practice has kept me on track for almost 60 years. You don't need anything external. You just need to honestly write down what you want and touch it every day, and think about it every day, and feel it every day. That's how you start to change your vibration, and everything begins to change when the vibration changes. Some people think it's spirituality, others think it's pseudoscience, but quantum physics has shown that everything is energy, including you, and your frequency determines what you attract. Notice how when you're negative, you attract more problems, and when you feel good, even traffic seems to cooperate. It's not coincidence, it's vibration, and vibration arises from the mental image you cultivate, but you can only cultivate what's clear, and what's clear gains strength. So I challenge you, write down your goal today, just one, but let it be real. Let it be true. Let it make your heart race. Carry it with you. Read it. Touch it. Visualize it. Do this for 90 days. Don't expect results on day 1 or day 2. But by day 90, something will have shifted, and you'll know with every cell in your body that finally, you know where you're going. Thought is your greatest power, yet almost no one teaches you how to wield it. That's why so many people are constantly extinguishing fires, tripping over their own haste, trying to survive, instead of creating. What's most striking is that we all possess this extraordinary capacity to imagine, project, and transform, yet we choose to react. We choose to fear. We choose to repeat. We think yes, but we think of worst-case scenarios. We think of debt, frustration, fear of failure, what others will say. We think of scarcity, we think of the past. And then we wonder why life isn't moving forward. What few understand is that thought isn't just a mental activity, it's a force, a frequency, an energy that propagates. Your thoughts don't stay trapped in your head. They expand, they collide with the universe and return in the form of circumstances. I learned this firsthand, working with Captain Edgar Mitchell of the Apollo mission. He went to the moon, literally, but it wasn't space that impressed me most, it was what he discovered about the power of the mind. Edgar conducted thought transmission experiments from the moon to Earth. Yes, really, he tested mental communication with people here while he was in space, and it worked. And maybe you're thinking, Bob, that's crazy talk. But I ask, what's crazier? Believing that thought travels through time and space, or living a whole life without knowing you can change everything with your thoughts? Thought is cause, result is effect. You are living today the exact reflection of the thoughts you repeated most yesterday. Have you realized that? It hit me hard during my first visit to Kingston Penitentiary. I'd made a deal with the administration. I wanted to speak to all the inmates. They said it wasn't possible. There are some very dangerous guys here, Bob, they warned, but I insisted. They're not bad, they just think they're bad, I said, and you think that too. And they let me in. There was a man there, Joe. He'd been in solitary confinement for 7.5 years. He'd committed a brutal crime, but I saw something else in him. I saw someone who'd never learned to think differently. At first, he was disruptive. He sat at the back of the room, made noise, mocked, and honestly, I was scared. But something inside me wouldn't let me give up. Until one day, tired of being interrupted, I went to him trembling inside and said, "You must be the dumbest guy I've ever met." He turned red. I thought it would be my end. But he laughed. And in that moment, something shifted. The following week, he sat at the front, and if anyone interrupted, he'd glare and shut them down instantly. Joe became my ally. Joe got out of prison. Joe became my collaborator. Joe became my friend. All because he learned to think differently. He started seeing possibilities. He started imagining a new identity. And thought after thought, he became another man. Now tell me, have you seriously considered what you've been thinking? Do you spend more time imagining what could go right or what could go wrong? Do you spend your day dreaming or sabotaging yourself with worries? Your brain is like an antenna. It emits and receives frequencies. And your life right now is tuned to what you think and feel most. Harvard University has published research showing that people who engage in creative visualization experience superior performance, less stress, and a greater sense of control over their lives. And that's not coincidence, it's science. If you spend your whole life saying, "I'm unlucky, nothing ever works out for me, money disappears from my hands, I never get what I want," what do you think will happen? You're creating a prophecy, a vibrational decree. And the universe, which always listens, will say, "Okay, done, but you can change that." And it starts with the decision to choose your thoughts, like you choose the direction of a ship. Choose carefully, choose intentionally. Think clearly, think purposefully. Think like someone who knows they are shaping their own reality. You are far more powerful than you've been taught to believe. And when you discover that truly, you'll never think the same way again, and therefore you'll never live the same way again. Ever tried changing a habit and been frustrated by not being able to stick with it for more than a week? Promised yourself you'd wake up earlier, stop unnecessary spending, or take the first step on that project you keep putting off, and ended up back where you started. This doesn't happen because you're weak, undisciplined, or lazy. The reason is far deeper and far more powerful. The truth is you're being controlled by something called a paradigm, and if you don't understand what that means, it doesn't matter how many videos you watch, books you read, or goals you write, you'll keep returning to the same place. A paradigm is a set of beliefs, habits, and mental patterns ingrained in your cells, your nervous system, your automatic behavior, and it operates silently. It dictates how you wake up, how you react, how you handle money, relationships, your dreams. It tells you what's comfortable and what's dangerous. And if you try to leave the zone it defines as safe, it will do everything to pull you back. Let me give you a real-world example. I'm right-handed, but in recent years I've started writing every day with my left hand. Why? Because I knew I needed to break the programming. I committed to writing every day without fail, even on trips, even when tired, even when my paradigm said, "Bob, leave that for later." And there was one day in particular. I was about to hit the road. Those long, tiring days, you know. My body wanted to lighten the load, leave the notebook at home. My paradigm was screaming, "You don't need this today." But in that exact moment, I also heard another voice inside me. There it is, that's what he wants. He wants to win again. So I took the notebook. I wrote, "I did what I promised myself, because I understood. If I let the paradigm win once, it takes back control. The paradigm doesn't want you to grow. It wants you to repeat." You notice this when you try something new and feel discomfort, that cold sweat, that illogical fear. You notice it when you hear an idea that could change your life and think, "But that's not for me. That must work for others, but not for me. I don't have time, I don't have money, I'm not lucky." These phrases don't come from you. They come from your paradigm. I've seen this happen countless times. People with extraordinary potential, sabotaged every day by a mental structure they didn't even know existed. And maybe that's happening to you now. Maybe you're struggling, thinking the problem is you, when what actually needs changing is your invisible structure, the set of beliefs you didn't even choose, but have carried since your earliest years. Have you ever stopped to consider how you got here, what shaped who you are? From the moment of conception, you were programmed. Your father's genetics, your mother's, your grandparents, the environment you grew up in, the language you spoke, the food you ate. All of this shaped your you. If you had been raised on the other side of the world, you would speak a different language, have different tastes, different ideas, a different lifestyle. You would be a completely different person, not because you chose to be, but because you were programmed. So I ask you, if all this programming happened without your permission, what prevents you from reprogramming your mind now, consciously? But wanting isn't enough. You need to learn to act against the paradigm, to do what's uncomfortable, to create the habit of choosing the new even when the old seems easier, and most importantly, be aware that you will be tested every day. You will hear inner voices saying, "Stop, don't do it, leave it for later." And when you hear them, know this, it's not you, it's the old system trying to survive. I've seen men and women change their entire lives when they broke free from this system. I've seen people escape poverty, prison, addiction, depression, and I've seen other people with the same opportunities sink because they didn't want to face the discomfort of change. There's a point few people talk about. Changing paradigms hurts. Yes, it hurts. Because you're killing an old identity. You're burying beliefs that have been with you for decades. But it's in that pain that freedom is born. It's in that rupture that you begin to see the world with different eyes. That's when the money comes, the ideas come, the right people come, because now you are different. And you know what? Most people won't do it. Because it's easier to blame the government, their parents, bad luck. It's easier to keep suffering than to give up the victim identity. But if you've come this far listening to every word attentively, maybe you're different. Maybe you're ready. Maybe today is the day you look at yourself and say, "Enough. I'm going to reprogram my life. I'm going to break free from the old, and I'm going to build the new, one thought, one action, one decision at a time." And when you do, I guarantee you, you'll never be the same again, because now the paradigm no longer controls you. You are in command, ready to completely reinvent yourself. It all starts with a shift in perspective. Forget where you are right now. It's all about where you're going and how you're thinking about getting there. Your mindset is the seed of either your success or your stagnation, and the choice is entirely yours. If this resonates, then let's dive in. The next video, playing now, is the next rung on your ladder to self-awareness, clarity, and creation. It's for anyone committed to continuous growth, even in the smallest increments. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one. Let's keep climbing together.